you. We need Charlene to do the intro.
I know.
Where's Charlene?
Intro!
Let's just do this!
Let's do this!
Let's do this! Hello, beautiful peeps. It's Natasha coming at you with another video. And it's Wednesday, so that means it's...
I'm not gonna say Whiskey Wednesday!
It's Talk to Me! So we may notice we're one short, but that's okay. She's just living her best life at the cottage right now, and...
She's here in spirit.
Yeah. I'm just picturing her like on a yacht.
I know, in her fancy hat.
But in real life, she's chasing after a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
It's not so glamorous.
No. So we thought we'd take this opportunity, because you guys know me, probably a little bit too much, and but to let you get to know Diana a little bit better, and a little bit of her backstory, a little bit of who she is.
My je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi, you know, her boss lady extraordinaire-esque. Eek. But so, that way it's going to give you guys a little bit of perspective on who Diana is, and that way later on when we get into some bigger topics maybe, or some lighter topics, you just kind of have an understanding of the why, the where, the who, the what.
So welcome.
You're welcome. Welcome to Diana.
Yes.
Ding, ding. Before we get too into it, you're going to love this video, so you're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to ring that bell, ding, 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 so you get notifications when a new post comes up. And like the video. Leave us a comment. Any suggestions on videos you'd like to see in the future? Love to hear from you guys. Leave the comment down below. Alright, so Diana is one of my BFFs who lives in the Ottawa area. But she is an interior designer extraordinaire, a professor. Right? Wouldn't you go to school if you had a professor like that? And she's just living that independent boss lady life. So, because it's just the two of us, and you guys know about me, if you don't know about me, if you have any questions about me, leave them down below. I'll answer them. I'll even do a Q&A one if you'd like, or Diana can interview me. Whatever you want to know.
Ooh, I like that idea too.
You like that idea?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll get on that for you guys.
But yeah, again, leave it down below. So I'm just going to be a bit more of a question and answer kind of thing. I'm sure I'm going to throw my 2 cents in there because I can't not talk.
Lots of comments.
So Diana.
Hello. We're going to get into this, right?
Yeah.
We have this off camera, but let's be real.
You know what's in here.
Grape juice.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh goodness.
Or tell our peeps.
I grew up on a bus farm.
Does
anybody know what a bus farm is?
Oh, I do.
Yeah? Yeah, you do. You have the backstory though. That's so sneaky.
Sorry.
So my family ran a school bus and highway coach company. And so we lived in the country in the middle of nowhere. But instead of having cows in our fields, we parked school buses in our fields during the summer. There was not always buses in fields, but so essentially like from the sky it would look like cow farm, cow farm, cow farm, school buses, cow farm, cow farm. So it was pretty cool. It was something different. And but the nice part about that, why I'm getting into that backstory, is because I had the fortunate experience of growing up under the tutelage of my father, learning how to run a small business. So that's where I think I have my small business entrepreneurship bug. He definitely had like this very quiet, community-minded way of approaching business. So he wasn't like this big crazy tycoon like growing this big business. His father actually started it, had some of the first yellow school buses in Ontario, and he used to drive around and have kids in the back of his milk truck.
I was going to say, it was a milk truck, wasn't it?
Yeah, his fault. So my dad's dad, that's how all of this started. He'd just like pick up kids walking down the road. He finished his milk run and then pick up the local kids walking to the schoolhouse and drop them off, and then he decided to get into the school bus business. So it started from there, and then my father ended up taking that over after his father passed away and grew it. It was quite small still at the time, and he grew it year after year with my mom. Yeah, it was really cool to grow up learning the ropes of the business, and scraping gum off the floor of the school buses and finding rotten apples down the seats in the middle of the summer from kids who shoved them down there. So got my hands dirty a little bit, and then I took business management after high school, and then went into the family company. And after that, after a few years working there.
So you were helping run the business along with your ex-husband, right?
Yes. I skipped over that.
Oh no. Who was your high school sweetheart?
Yes. He went to Carleton, took history, and then so he graduated with that, but while he was doing that, he also got into the family business. So at the end of during his university stint, he started summers working in the garage and getting his hands dirty and working out from there. But it wasn't until a few years later that he made it into the office. Then it kind of spiraled from there. So he just kept working his way up. I took business management, went to join him. So for many years we were kind of working back to back in this tiny little office together.
And it was super tiny at first.
Like we couldn't like move our chairs without hitting each other. Yeah. And I was always so proud of the fact. I was like we don't fight. I love sitting that close to him. Like we don't have any issues. We can go home. Like we still
went to work together, left to work together, work all day together.
Yeah, spend 24 hours together, and you're living in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like you are in the city, you can go out with your girlfriends. Like, we saw each other once a week. We had, this couple's date night.
Wednesday
group of 8 people. Yeah, and Wednesday night, America's Next Top Model and a Magnum of Black. Yeah, so, it was very, it was weird. I loved it, and there was, I don't even want to say regret any of it. It was just this, our own little world, though, right?
Yeah.
And there's something so special about that. A lot of people never get to experience that, but at the same time, it's very, what is the word, sheltered in a way.
Oh yeah, because your whole world is in that little bubble, right?
Yeah, it's just like a single bubble, and we drive and we live 10 minutes away. At first we lived, so I used to live where the business was. I grew up there. And then when my ex and I bought our first house, we moved 10 minutes away to the next town. So we commute there, sometimes have dinner with my parents, then drive back. We were 24/7, and then we ended up buying, we ended up buying my parents' house after my father passed away. And so we literally, our commute was right next door. And it was just spend lunchtime together. And but there started to be, the thing that I didn't realize was that we never really fought at all. And then once we that progressed, we never really talked all that much, and we didn't. So there's a lot of communication issues and a lot of communication further breakdown of that.
Yeah, I think when you spend so much time together, it gets to the point where you kind of feel we're together, right?
You know everything about.
But then you're not thinking about, okay, well, you still need to open that communication. Because it's so easy just to sit beside somebody and, be, doing two different things. But it's not,
It's not quality time.
No.
Or quality, you're not actually interacting on the same level as a couple should interact. Yes, we've been talking all day about business things.
Yeah, but that's not, on a personal level.
Yeah, so there's not that, there was no, it was lack of intimate conversation and interaction sort of thing. So, that's what was really hard for me.
Do you think maybe part of it was that you're in business mode for so long together that your life almost becomes all business?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And even it was a 24-hour or 24/7 kind of business where we're always on call. And so even when we were relaxing and we'd go to your cottage or do just any kind of trip, it was always you're still always waiting for a phone call. And a bus could break down in the end of North America, and we'd have to get on the phone and deal with it.
Yeah, or midsummer when you're planning your bus routes and you guys would have the maps up there and okay, I'll be down the dock, and you're routing your routes for the season kind of thing.
Yeah, having a pool party. Oh wait, we just got to break down. We'll be right back and spend 2 hours away from all our friends having a good time.
Yeah, enjoy yourselves. We'll be back.
We'll be back. So
yeah,
do you
think it became just business? That divide kind of, you lost that that line where you're business and you're intimate, and then just became more business?
It was just all, maybe. I haven't really thought of it. That's an interesting perspective. But for me, I'm a person who does like to shut that off, and I think he had some difficulty with that, but I think it's something you really have to work on in a relationship. Anybody, I think, right? And I think it's a very conscious decision that people have to make in a relationship to be no, I do need to do this, though. Yes, we're always busy, and now, I'm more busy than ever as a solo entrepreneur trying to, have a social life,
Yeah,
but
build
like
a brand and
build a brand. Like, it's a lot of work, but you also have to make time for people that you love and want to spend time with, because otherwise it just doesn't happen. So it really has to be a certain mindset, that you're doing this for the good of life and relationships, because otherwise what's the point?
No, I think that happens to anyone, like any kind of milestone or things that you go through, or even just amount of time that you've been together. Like Ryan and I have been married, it'll be 12 years, or when this video goes up, it'll be past 12 years.
Yeah.
And we have 3 kids. And we're together that long, and like any kind of stressor, not that kids are necessarily a stressor, but you know what I'm talking about. But like, it takes work. You have to remember that you were a couple first, before you were everything else. Like, okay, we had kids, or we, and you know, got into this business together, or we did this together because of our love.
Yeah.
And remember that part of it, because otherwise it's like your roommates.
What's the point? Then it's like, why do I need you here if I can like manage the kids by myself, or if I can manage myself? Why do I even need you here? Well, it's because I want you here, and you have to remember that part. At some time, you got together because you love each other and you care and you had fun together. Yeah,
and you built this life together because of that love.
Yeah.
It can be hard to get, or no, not can be hard. It can be very easy to get lost in life and forget why you did what you did, or what got you there in the first place, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you, because I think we all have visions, or if you're thinking about doing something, or you're imagining or dreaming about something, you got something in your mind, right? So when you first became single, are you where you thought you were going to be? Like, you must have imagined your life a certain way, being alone, or kind of coming out into the world?
Coming out? Yes and no. I didn't actually, like, it was because my previous relationship, we were together for so long. I kind of didn't have an identity, which was really strange. So there was a period of, there was definitely like, oh my god, what have I done period, and then there was like kind of like an elation period where I was like, oh my god, I did this, and I'm able to make decisions for myself. And so I think part of the fun part, like, divorce isn't fun at all, but just getting to know myself again and being like, I'm going to hang pictures on the wall, and I'm going to get a drill, and I'm going to like build shit outside, and I'm going to like fix my bike. I'm going to learn how to fix my bike. And like, such little, like, they're so tiny, but so many people you just assume when somebody starts to take care of you and you lose the ability to like feel confident in learning new things or doing things for yourself, you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. Like, it's a constant, I don't know how to do that, so I can't. And it's actually, I don't know how to do that now, so I'm going to learn. And I'm going to teach myself. And every new thing I take on in my life now is such a great feeling to know that, like, and I could do it all alone. That's the most hilarious part, but losing that identity and then refinding it. And I never really even got to know myself, so now I find that, like, even people always saw me a certain way, but I didn't see myself that way, even though I was a certain way, and now I'm like seeing what everybody got about me before, which is kind of interesting.
Well, I think
that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely, because when you're in a relationship, long-term relationship, committed relationship,
16 years.
You become like almost like you're a unit, right? So if you think about, if you merged 2 triangles together, you gotta knock out a wall somewhere to make it one whole, right? So you're almost like knocking one leg off each person, so that you're a whole function, right? So it's learning that, like, how to be that, and because you didn't do that beforehand, I mean, you were in grade 10, 9? 10?
11.
Okay, so
I just turned 16,
Yeah, so that's young! Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was like, literally, that relationship was half of my life, and pretty much all of my adult life.
Yeah.
And we had a very, like, very exceptionally respectful relationship, but
a very mature relationship from the get-go, right?
Yes, it was very mature.
Yeah.
And he was my first boyfriend, first everything, right? So I never, like, had crazy party days. Like, even when I went to college, I drove home every weekend to see him. Like, I never had that learning about myself, or even making friends outside of, like, my tight-knit circle.
Yeah.
So I had never made a single decision since I was 16 years old, which is like it's not even adulthood yet, but I'm going to say like the beginning of my adulthood. Because before that's like 0 to 16, you're like a child. So during that period, like I never made a single decision without consulting somebody from the age of 16 to 32.
That's a lot. That's pretty crazy. Because I think
crazy.
When I was 19, I packed a backpack and I jumped on a bus and I headed out west and I lived on my own. And then
that's crazy. Like for me, who I was then,
I learned a lot about myself in that experience. And then I met someone. We dated. He ended up being an epic douchebag, but I did not know that at the time. But I learned a lot from that. You know what I mean?
It's all lessons.
And then learned that even though you love somebody, you could still leave them. That was, I think, the big takeaway for me from that relationship was that I knew I had to leave him because it wasn't good for myself, but it wasn't because I didn't love him. So, I mean, that's so hard that you still have that attachment and those feelings and you don't want to hurt somebody, but you know in the long run, for yourself as a person, as a whole, like I just feel myself, like losing pieces of myself already, and I was like, hell no, like this is not where my life was going, so.
Yeah,
but
that's huge. Good.
But you
that's a huge realization that you learned.
So I mean, I learned that I think I was 20 when I learned that, and then I moved to Toronto, and then I feel like I was only in a place where I was able to allow Ryan in because I'd learned so much already, and I was like, okay, well, we were still young when I wasn't even 25 yet when I got married.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's still, I feel like in this day and age, that's still really young, but I lived a life on my own. I had like 4 or 5 apartments on my own at that point. I hung my own, I went to IKEA, I got a little pink toolkit. Yeah, so I got to go, and it's so funny they talked about like hanging pictures and doing all those things, because I remember that being like, my girlfriends who I had as roommates would come to me for those things.
Yeah.
Because they were like, I mean, you've lived on your own before, like, and I took them from their parents' homes kind of situation, but like, yeah, you do. Like, you learn a lot about those things. And, like, I was always so proud that I had my own toolkit and I had my own things. And so I learned all that before I ended up in a long relationship.
Yep.
So, I mean, you still can lose yourself. Even if you found yourself, you can still change. I'm a very different person than I was then. Mm-hmm. And you're always evolving. But it's being able to, like, know your foundation, I think, is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have very solid relationships from a very young age on.
Absolutely.
But I think, like, to me, it blows my mind when I think about people who've been together since like high school, or like my in-laws who've been together since middle school, and I'm like, we're just babies. We're just babies.
Yeah.
I do not understand.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of answered it, or I have a feel of what your answer is going to be. But what do you think is your favorite part of living alone? Like, you don't have roommates. You're alone in your space.
I just like having my own space, actually. Like, it's just as simple as that. I like the first thing that struck me being alone was I was literally walking down the street in the city, and I was like, oh, I should get home for, like, dinner, or I always thought I had, like, these timelines because you have to be responsible for somebody else, and I was like, I don't have to go home for anybody. That was such a huge, like, when you're literally attached to the hip and like making a decision with somebody else, like just the fact that you can do whatever you want, it's huge. So I'm a very social person, so I'm always at networking events, I'm always working, I'm like to hang out with friends, like I say I like to do all these things, and I'm always just working, but I love human interaction, but I do like the fact that I can come home sometimes and just not talk, or like go crumple up somewhere and just like read a book, or go sit outside and just stare at the sky and not.
Yeah. Just stare at the sky.
Just stare at the sky. Yeah.
What's your least favorite thing about being alone?
Again, like it's being alone. So I tend to be
sword, right?
Exactly. I do like having people to talk to. Again, I'm like that social being. So when I'm with somebody in a partnership, when we're together, like in the same space, I really like to be interacting with that person. I love deep conversations. I love playing. I'm a very playful person, so I like exploring and thinking of new adventures to go on together. So I sometimes I do get caught up in like, oh, I wish I had somebody to do this with. And I know now that I'm capable of, I can go for hikes by myself. I can go camping by myself if I want to. I went to Thailand by myself. So you can do anything you want by yourself. And sometimes that's fun. I'll go have dinner or like drink coffee by myself. And before, when I've been in such a long relationship, it was like, you see somebody alone in a coffee shop, you're like, oh, they must be so lonely. And now I'm like, fuck, like I love going to sit by myself and just enjoy those things solo. I found so much appreciation for doing those things, but sometimes there's also nothing like sharing a meal, like a really good meal with someone.
So, I mean, you were in a relationship for so long, and now it's been a couple of years that you've been on your own. Do you find that you get treated differently as someone who's single versus when you were married?
That's an excellent question. I found I was treated differently right away, and I think it's almost like a conscious perception thing. So I was so, like, doing what I did and leaving my marriage was heartbreaking, and it was hard, and it was not something I took lightly. And I was so concerned about, like, my ex ran my family's company, and my mom had lost my father, and so, like, there was a lot tied into that, and I was so worried about disrupting everybody else's life that I stayed in a situation maybe a little bit longer than I should have, just because I was like, I don't care what happens to me, I just want everybody else to be okay. So yeah, and I was from a small community, so I found that I was going to like still going back to events, and I was still seeing my ex at the time, like we were trying to maintain a friendship, and but I felt very judged by the community at the time. Small community, and whether or not that was actually the way it was, or if that was also like me worrying about what other people thought. So it's kind of a double-edged sword again. Like I feel it was almost more self-imposed, that people were judging me, and now I don't give a fuck. Like, so, and and like I'm just kind of, doesn't matter, whatever happens. I'm working on my business, growing relationships, and trying to enjoy my life, and it's a lot easier when you don't have all these perceived pressures building up behind you.
So talking about your business, because when you were married, and you still have Indulgent Interiors, which is one of your businesses, but that felt very light and airy and girly. Yeah. And now that you've recently launched Bachelor by Design, which is a very, is male-centric. It's meant for men. It's a design service for the kind of like single man kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that is impacted by the newly discovered you, or the fact that you're single? Could you have pictured yourself having this business in your previous life?
Well, so funny story. The actual idea for this business came before I was even divorced. I'd worked with several men, and just had like some male friends that were, I was like, they were always asking me for advice, and I was like, good Lord, you guys need help. Not saying that everybody does, but that's just where the idea actually spurred. So actually, like, my logo was developed like 5 years ago. And the business idea was there, and I joined like Marie Forleo's B School, and I started to develop it. But relationship stress, working my family business, trying to like we built the businesses during that time. My father had passed away. Like all of those things, I just felt so repressed, and I was like not repressed, but like I was just drowning in myself, and I just could never bring that to fruition. So I think leaving, you had asked earlier, kind of like, are you where you thought you would be, or you was kind of like, and I think this was one of those things. When I left, I was like, all I want to do is launch this company. And now it's been 3 years later. It took me 3 more years. I thought I'd have it launched within, like, I'm going to be free and I'm just going to, like, sit down for the next 6 months and launch this thing. And it took way more development and a lot more work than that. But that's one of my proud moments this year of 2018, because I finally took the time to get it done.
But I think you need women can do anything, don't get me wrong. If you know anything about me, I'm very like female centric, and women can do anything, and body positive and strength and all that good stuff. But I think there's certain male driven industries, and I've worked in some of those, where I think you need to have a certain je ne sais quoi, or a certain confidence to be able to when people are like, well, where's your boss? Because they assume it's a man. You'd be like,
Yes.
well, I am the boss.
Yep.
So
When I walk on site with my DeWalt drill and my stuff, and guys are just like, oh, you know how to use the measuring tape. I'm like, come on. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like working in that, that industry for sure, and having, my confidence level has definitely grown. And I think that's where I struggled, like developing the business for a while, knowing how to approach men in a way where I was confident, not feeling in a position where I felt not empowered, unempowered.
I think it'd be hard to ask for things to begin with. So when you run your own business or you are your own brand, you're asking people for stuff, right? You're asking brands to support you. You're asking people to follow your journey. You're asking people to pay you money to
Yes.
have a service.
Yeah.
So it can be hard, and I think in particular, because women are generally, and this is a very generalization, but women are givers or nurturers as a general rule. It's a whole maternal thing, right?
Yeah.
For most women. And so I think sometimes it can be harder to ask for things, even though you're well deserving of it, or
Absolutely.
you're capable of it. It's harder to ask for things.
Yeah.
So you need to have that, you need to have some lady balls.
Yep.
So I mean, you've come along quite a big journey. Where do you see yourself in a year?
1 year. That's tricky.
So in a year,
you guys are watching this.
do you want so many staff in a year? Do you want to have your first speaking engagement in a year? Do you want to talk at Bliston in Toronto in October? Do you want, what do you...
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so give me one thing that you want to accomplish for next year. Or in a year.
This time next year.
We're sitting down, what are we? We're August 2019. I've got baby mummy brain, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
where one thing that you've done that is your to-do list.
I have written down on the sticky note. I don't want to say it out loud, but it's out loud because it's over there. But I'm expecting to hit my revenue goal. I have no doubt that I will hit that by next year. So I'm excited because it's I know you're coming. I'll see you later. And maybe it won't happen by next year. Sometimes the timeline isn't. It's life, right?
Okay, so September.
Yeah, exactly. So that's gonna happen. I'd like to have a few speaking engagements under my belt, and have gone to Paris by that time. So Paris Design Show, or just Paris because I can.
So speed round. Quick question, quick answer. One word answer, or just one answer.
Okay, I'm on it.
If you cannot be an interior designer boss babe, and you had the opportunity to pick, hand select any other profession, career to have, what would it be?
Broadway. I'd be on Broadway, musicals. Jazz hands! That or show jumping, but I know I have to pick one, so I'd say Broadway.
I think this is a good question to end on. What advice would you give another woman who feels unfulfilled or unhappy in her life?
Her life.
To change that, what advice would you give her?
I think one of my favorite quotes is "Feel the fear, do it anyways." So I think a lot of people stay stuck in their comfort zones, and especially whether or not you're in a relationship, I'm going to go off the relationship a little bit. A lot of time you lose yourself, and you again, we're nurturers, so we tend to give and give and give and don't take time for ourselves. So self-care is huge, even such a buzzword right now, but it's so important. I'm terrible at it, to be honest. I'm really struggling with it, but I know it's so important because I burnt out a few years ago. So I know you can't go 110 miles an hour. That's not even that fast. 1 billion miles an hour all the time, because it's not sustainable. I guarantee it. I used to run on no sleep, not eat, work for literally 3 days straight with 2 hours of sleep, and just be hey, we're good. Until I just couldn't anymore, and I was completely debilitated. So it was a very scary thing, and it was a very big wake-up call. So I think self-care, taking the time for yourself, ask people for help. And again, we had that conversation in the other episode about finding your tribe and finding your people. And even if it's hey, can you come watch my kids for an hour? Girlfriend,
I need to shower.
I need to shower. What a simple thing, but it happens.
Yeah.
We don't have time to do these things. Or you're working really late, or you're working on a crazy deadline. Can somebody just drop off some food for me, please. Because I know I'm the biggest culprit. I get into a work group and I just won't eat supper till like 11 p.m. and then I'm like eating chips
whatever
or like
you got your hands
yeah, and it's not healthy and it's not good for us and it doesn't help you be your best self. That's the biggest thing. You're not giving the world your best self, your best work, your best attitude. So I think that it's just like this full circle issue that we're not taking care of ourselves the way we need to. Like really follow your intuition, really follow your heart, and learn to cultivate it. Like read books. There's so much information out there on it. Intuition is not hokey pokey. It's like science. It's like that gut feeling, and following it, and not being afraid to do the scary things or do the big things, asking the hard questions, and going. Whether it's bungee jumping or like leaving a relationship or just like going back to school. None of these things have to, if you're feeling unfulfilled in some area of your life, take some time, even like 1 hour and sit in a secluded room or like take a weekend and go somewhere by yourself and just listen to what your body's telling you and what your heart actually wants.
But I think we covered, I think we know Diana.
Did you know me a little bit? I talk a lot.
We'll talk in. And we'll learn more. We'll learn more as these videos go on because
now that I've opened up this can of worms,
now
I think I'll be able to like.
She'll be like, "Hello, everybody, it's Diana.
Welcome to Diana. Talk to me."
But yeah, so if you have any questions for Diana or for me or anything about any of the topics we discussed, you know what to do. I tell you guys all the time. Comment section below. If you haven't done it already yet, please give us a thumbs up to like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Every Wednesday at 7 a.m. you'll get a little ding if you hit that bell saying, "Hey, good morning. It's time to talk to me."
Talk to me.
Talk to me.
And I will be available to answer if you comment directly, or check me out if you want to DM me on Instagram or something to answer like private questions. I'm totally open to that. I talk very openly about my experience, and I know maybe we didn't touch on all of it, but I'm an open book. So.
Yeah. So all of our contact information for like Instagram and that kind of stuff is down in the description box. So if you want any of that, or leave me a comment and I will shoot you her way. Yeah. You know what to do. But yeah, just like if you have any suggestions or comments about future videos, I think between us and Shirley included, there's not much we haven't been through or experienced or whatever. So
we're adulting hard.
We've done some hardcore adulting.
Yeah.
So we are here for you. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching as always. We love chatting with you. And we'll talk to you next time. See you later.
Can't wait. Bye.
Bye. Hey, we're done! And that's a wrap.
I love her and the way she describes me.
What?
It's just like, oh you.
I'll just follow you around.
Yeah.
Feel like your narrator.
Yeah.
Diana opens a coffee shop in Gusto.
Bam!
Bam! I'm here!
God, yes. Just please narrate.
Oh,
That would be
okay.
fantastic.
I'm gonna be the new Morgan Freeman.
Yep. I knew where you were going.
I'm going to be the new Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Yes!
Of my life.
Of your life. I'm your Morgan Freeman.